Don't understand how so many young men are voting for the Conservatives. This is a point that a lot of people have been bringing up. And when I try to talk about it, I keep saying that we need to lead with empathy. But a lot of people keep wanting to be disingenuous about my argument and they keep jumping to other things. So why don't we start fresh? Let's start with a blank slate. All people deserve empathy. All people can be fragile. All people can be hurt by the words and actions of others, and all people can be affected by the systemic oppression that we face, including toxic masculinity that is pervasive in our culture, and that includes young men. And if we can't start by agreeing that all people need to be treated with empathy and all people need to be given dignity and respect, and that includes these young individuals who do not know any better, because you can say that they should know better, but when I say young men, I'm talking about 16 to like 22-year-olds. And listen, there are bad people, and some people are bad people from the time that they're teenagers. They just never get any better. But there's a lot of men out there, a lot of young men out there, 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old boys who do not mean any harm in the world. But then they come into these online spaces, and we all have to acknowledge that online spaces, that's not the real world. That's not how real conversations are had. Real change happens in face-to-face conversations and in face-to-face interactions. So the point of these conversations is to help each other, myself included, you guys are helping me, learn how we can go out into the real world and make a change and empathize with these people and help bring them to a clearer point of view. But when they log in to these apps and they see comments of people being like, all men are bad, all men are this, it's the fault of these young men, I cannot believe them, they're disgusting, how dare they vote for this person, I don't understand how they could think this way, you are immediately pushing them into a corner. Like, this is basic reasoning and argumentation. When you turn something into a debate, when you turn something into an attack, the other person has to automatically defend their position. It is the fight or flight response. So when I say we need to lead with empathy, and yes, it's the responsibility of men to work with younger men to make sure that they do not fall into those traps. But when I say we need to lead with empathy, that's all of us. And that means how we interact with each other and how we interact with young people online. Because you're talking with me, you're a 40-year-old, I'm in my 30s, and we're having a conversation, and we might be disagreeing. But you know who's reading these comments? There are children on these apps. There are kids on these apps. There are young adults on these apps. And they are seeing these comments. And they start to think that everybody out there who is like you thinks the way you do, or is going to attack them the way you are attacking them, even though you don't think it's an attack and you're trying to teach somebody something. You're trying to give somebody something that they can take away. When we lead with attacks on the person's identity and their individualism, it does not go anywhere. So once again, let's remove everything else from the equation. If you cannot agree with me on this statement, then just unfollow me, okay? Because we're just not going to agree moving forward on this topic, okay? So here's the statement, okay? All people, regardless of how they were born, are affected by systemic oppression and by toxic masculinity. That includes young men. And all people deserve to be treated with empathy, and all people deserve the opportunity to learn and to grow. And if we start with attacks, we are going to push people into places that we don't want them to be. Now, I know what you're doing. Listen to me. You're going into the comments right now and talking about how it's the responsibility of men to do this. Sure, you're right. You're right. But that's not what this is about. All of the videos that I've been making, all of them have been talking about how we as a society need to show empathy to young men. And I guess I get it. A lot of people are saying that they're exhausted. Why do we have to do this? Why do I have to do this? I feel unsafe as a woman. I feel unsafe as a person of color. You are valid in those feelings. I am not invalidating you here. But there is obviously a pervasive issue if so many young men, especially so many young white men, feel the same way. And people talk about entitlement. Yes, obviously that's part of it. These are complex issues, and I am making short form videos. But I'm not going there in these videos because we are starting with a core concept, and that core concept is radical empathy. And if we cannot have empathy for all people, including people who might turn into our political opponents in the future, including people who might eventually or have already done some pretty bad things, if we don't think that those people can change or can grow, we are going to force them to not grow. Go back a few videos. Look at the video where I was talking about how training can be done very poorly and can push people into bad places. Where I was told that because I'm white, I don't know what it's like to have immigrant parents, even though I have immigrant parents. Those moments didn't radicalize me, but they might radicalize others. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. We need to start with empathy, because when people enter spaces and they don't know any better, and when I say people, I'm talking about these young boys, 18, 19, 20 years old, when they enter spaces and they don't know any better, and we start with attacks, they feel attacked because they don't know any better. Lead with empathy. I cannot believe that that is a controversial statement.